Hey guys, Anthony here. This is part 10 of building the ultimate agent for my students, the production ready agent, testing and deploying. So by the end of this video, you'll have the exact 10-part system of how to build, deploy, and profit from AI voice agents. And to make it super easy for you, I'm going to give you my exact SOP for developing the production ready ultimate med spa agent. And in this video, I'm going to be going through it step by step to show you exactly how to follow this. Let's go ahead and get started with number 1. Watch and learn the Ultimate Clinic Agent full course. So if you haven't already, go back and make sure you watch all the parts. Number 2, download the files from the last part of the full course. So in my school community, I'm going to have all the files. Just go over to the YouTube tab, and I'm going to make a post, and you just click on one of these and hit download. I've already done that just to make it easy. I got all my files over here. Okay. Number 2, Vapi, create a new assistant. So go ahead and go to Vapi. That's what we use for developing AI voice agents. Get started with the link in the description. Go ahead and click Create Assistant. Doesn't matter what you call it, you can enter whatever you want. All right, step B, set the model to GPT-5 mini. So we're going to go over here, and this is where you can configure the settings for the model. Now you're probably wondering, why do I choose 5 mini out of all of these choices? It just comes down to testing. And by the way, I was going to show you how to do testing, but it's really boring and really tedious. All you do is you have what you start out with, you give it a call, ask some questions, and whatever you feel like it's not doing well, you just go back and change that part of it. And then you do it, you test it again, and you just try to get better and better. So I'm just gonna go through the setup and show you what I think is, probably going to be the best. And then we might do some tests, and if we figure out anything that needs to get improved, I'll show you how to do that, okay? So let's go ahead and choose GPT-5 mini. Now, step C, set first message mode to assistant speaks first with generated message. So done. Paste the system prompt from assistant prompt part 10. So go ahead and go over here, assistant prompt part 10, Control A, Control C, Control A, Control V, makes it nice and easy. You can hit Control S, or you can just hit the publish button here to save. Perfect. Next, it says set the temperature to 0. So here you can change the temperature. Temperature just basically means how variable or how crazy you want the content to be. 0 is going to be the least crazy, and 2 is going to be the most crazy. Now, in my previous videos, I've been saying that 0.4 is the best. It really just depends. You just got to do testing. Especially when protected health information is used, you want to make sure that the temperature is lower so that there's a lower chance of it basically messing up and leaking that information. So we'll just start with 0, and if it doesn't work, we can always increase it later. Next, set the voice configuration to 11 labs. So 11 labs. Now the choices, you can choose anything that you want, but I've been doing some testing, and I like that. I found that I like Alexandra and Suzanne the most. So go ahead and click voice. And for this, I'll just use Alexandra for now. Okay. And then set the model to 11 multilingual V2. This is going to be responsible for allowing it to speak every single language. Additional configuration. So here we can basically set some more settings. Again, this just requires tons of testing. I did a bunch, and this is what I found to be the best. So stability is going to be 1. Clarity and similarity is going to be max as well. Speed is 1.1. Style exaggeration can just be 0 because you want it to be as fast as possible. Optimize streaming latency. This is also going to be max because you want low latency. Latency just means lag, basically. And we're going to turn speaker boost on and auto mode on. And again, you just need to test this to see what you like. You can always change that. Moving on to Transcriber. Here we're going to choose Google, and it's going to be multilingual. And basically what it does is it allows the agent to listen for different languages so that it knows how to basically respond in that language. So we're going to keep this at 2.0 Flash. Now tools, this is where we're going to basically create tools and then give it to our agent. But since we haven't created them yet, we're just going to skip it for now. Next is predefined functions. This is where you're going to enter your forwarding phone number. So let's say that, in this case, maybe there's a medical emergency, or maybe they need to transfer a call. This is when you would give them your phone number to your human. So, just give it to your human receptionist, or maybe even your boss. Okay. And that's done. So in summary, paste the call summary prompt.json. So here it's going to be the analysis section, and it's going to be called summary. This is going to allow us to summarize the call so that our esthetician can have a good idea of basically what happened in that conversation, what they're interested in, what they're concerned about, things like that. So Go ahead and go to the files. It's going to be called call summary prompt. Control A, Control C, Control V, save. The defaults are fine for this. Next is success evaluation. This basically allows us to track if the calls went well or what didn't go well, so that it can allow us to consistently improve our agent. So go ahead and open success evaluation prompt. Paste. Save. All right, and the success evaluation rubric is going to be automatic. Now, if you just take a look at some of the other ones, they're not that helpful. It doesn't if you set it to 1 to 10, you're not going to know what went well and what didn't. Same thing with all of these. So you just want to use automatic. What that's going to do is it's going to follow what you actually wrote in your prompt. Awesome. Next is, so here I have some settings here. This is going to be only for my actual students in my school community. It's just some settings that you can make to basically make your agent like 2 times better, and it's really easy to do. So I'm just going to reserve that for my students because they deserve that. Okay. And here it says in messaging, skip the server URL for now. So let's see. So the server URL is basically what will allow you to connect Vapi with n8n, which is going to be the backend that we'll use for this. Basically, it says what address should we send the data on. So if we set it to a URL and we connect it to n8n, then it'll send that URL. It'll send the data on that URL to n8n. So let's just leave that empty for now. It says in server messages, select only end of call report and tool calls. So go down over here. As you can see, the default is basically defaulting to a lot of information. But if you have this, it's going to clutter up your n8n because it's going to literally give you like 4 different executions for every single turn of the conversation. So make sure to just hit select all twice. That'll get rid of all that. And then click on end of call report and tool calls. And basically what that'll do is it'll limit the executions to only when you're sending a tool call or when you're doing a call analysis, which is basically call summary or success evaluation. All right, so Control S to save the Vapi assistant. Now we're going to go to the Tools tab and we're going to create some tools. So create tool, custom tool. Now, as you know, we have a bunch of tools, so I'll just go through there real quick. But the first one is going to be called Lookup Client by Phone. And actually, I changed this a little bit because, okay, let's make this real quick. Okay. So in the past, what happened was I was actually creating a parameter that was called something like client identifier. But actually, we don't need that because the phone number is already being passed in by the Vapi AI voice agent. So that was, one thing that I found during my testing is, basically when you're going back from 0 to 100, you just want to make sure that everything's consistent. You're not repeating anything unnecessarily. So that's perfect. Next thing to do is to get the next tool. So the next tool should be called check availability. Control A, Control C, create tool, custom tool, check availability, parameters, visual editor, paste, apply, save. Okay. And by the way, we don't need to add the server settings here anymore because in our assistant, since we're already using that, it applies to all the tools. So that's one nice thing. In the past, I wasn't using the thing in the assistants, which is why I was passing it in here, but that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, so create tool, bug appointment, Control A, Control C, book appointment, parameters, visual editor, paste, apply, save, create tool, custom tool. This one should be called cancel and also reschedule. We'll just start with cancel. All right, so that should do it. We have our 5 tools. This is going to be responsible for the appointment setting portion of this AI voice agent. Now, of course, you can add different functionalities such as RAG for answering FAQ, or you can also add functionality for an outbound assistant, but that's up to you. I'm going to show you just real quick how you do that for RAG. So there's going to be a tool call called get user documents tool. So you would literally just do the exact same thing, just copy and then create a tool. I guess I'll just do it, but the thing is, it's really easy and like you don't have to use this. by the way, so that's fine. But if you want to do things like, put your company information in there, then it is a little helpful. So cool, that works. And now go back over here, create all the custom tools using the files from school. Perfect. And now we just need to click on the phone numbers tab. So here you'll be able to create up to 10 free phone numbers if you're in the USA. Create. And if you're not in the USA, you would just go to Twilio to buy that. It's usually about $1.15 per month. And all you would do is you would just go, let's see, where are we? You would just say create phone number and you hit import Twilio and you just enter in your phone number that you purchased. And then this is going to be for your account. So you just create you just go to your homepage and you just copy and paste it in. And that's it. Very simple. So this is the phone number that I'm going to be using for now. And it looks like I forgot a step, which is I need to go back and assign to the assistant the tools that I created. So I'll just add that in real quick. Go back to assistants. And give the assistant the tools. Yeah. So go back to the assistants tab, scroll down to the tools section. This is where we're going to hit select all so that I can use all the tools that we created. Save. All right, scroll up to hit save to save. Oh yeah, it looks like I forgot to assign the phone number to my assistant. So I'll go back to phone numbers. Go down here to inbound settings and then click assistant, new assistant. This basically assigns that assistant to this phone number. So go up and hit save. That is officially the setup for Vapi completely done. So the next thing that we need to do is go to N8N. Here's N8N. Easiest way to do this is go ahead and hit these three dots, import from file, and just import that file. So here I'll just make this better size. But it's basically saying import the ultimate agent part 10 JSON workflow to N8N. So it's gonna be called ultimate agent part 10. Perfect. And that is what it's going to look like. Now, in the variables node, update the business details, Twilio number, and CRM. So this is going to be the variables node. Click on that. The CRM that I'm going to use is Cool Sheets. That looks fine. Make sure to change your time zone. And Twilio number, just get that from your Twilio dashboard. Okay. In the Vapi tool call Webhook, set authentication to header auth. So this is really important. Now, when I was just teaching you all this in the previous parts, we weren't worrying about this, but this is really important for securing your webhook. If you don't do this, other people can just listen to your information and basically steal all your clients' information. So this is very, very important. Alrighty, so go ahead and double click on the Vapi tool call webhook. And here you're going to see obviously your production URL. We're going to need this later. But the part that we're worried about right now is called authentication. Now, as I was saying earlier, this is important for securing your webhook. The type of authentication that we're going to use is called header auth. Now, you can learn about the other ones, but this is the easiest and the simplest and the best way to do it. So header auth, and here it's asking to create a credential. So go ahead and create a new credential. And the information that it needs for this is basically a name and a value. It's pretty simple. You can just understand this as basically like a username and a password. But obviously, like they recommend you to use like a 64 character password, but if you want to do that, that's fine. If you don't, just use a normal 10 character password, that's fine. So name, we'll just call this, I don't know, client 1. And for the value for this, I'll just use like some random thing. It's easy to remember. We're going to need this later for when we pass it into our Vapi assistant. So just make sure that it's something easy to remember, or if you make it a really long one, make sure to copy it somewhere so that you can paste it back. Okay, go ahead and hit save. And there it is, credentials successfully created. That is good. Now, make sure that you copy your production URL because we need to go back to Vapi. And then we need to go back to our assistants. And then we're going to go all the way down to the messaging section. We're going to paste it in for the section URL, the server URL, because as I was saying earlier, this is important to connect Vapi with N8N. And then skip the secret token. We're going to go to the HTTP headers because this is the header auth that we were talking about earlier. Go ahead and click add header. The header name is just going to be the name that we created. In this case, it was client1. And the value is just going to be that secret password that you just created, just like that, okay? And for this example, I'm just making it super easy. So, it's just simple, but as I was saying earlier, make sure that it's actually secure. So go ahead and hit publish to save that. All right, so where were we? Copy the Vapi tool called Webhook. We've already done that to your clipboard. Well, I guess I forgot to say where to paste it in at, but basically go back to Vapi, scroll down, messaging, enter the production URL as the server URL. HTTP headers. Enter the name and password that you just created for header auth. It's pretty simple, guys. You guys can do that. Okay. Double click on each CRM node, then in settings, turn on retry on fail. So the point of this is basically because sometimes when your third-party CRM is trying to do a function, it might be a network error, it might be their server's down, something like that, and never really know. So to make it the most robust, it's just much easier to do something really simple. Just identify the nodes that are third-party. So right here, Google Calendar, for example, go and click on settings, and then click on retry on fail. Basically what that does is it'll give it 3 tries, and it'll wait 1 second in between, and it'll basically just retry 3 times. Now you can change this if you want to. Sometimes it's easier to make it 5,000 milliseconds or 5 seconds, but it doesn't really matter. The point is that you just have a little bit of extra, I guess, security, extra robustness in your production ready agent, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that for all of them. All right, so I just clicked on what I believe is all of the third-party nodes, and I just made sure that I set them to retry out fail. So that's a little bit more robust. All right, so the next step is if you're using RAG, import the 3 RAG workflows. So go ahead and create a new n8n workflow. Go to these 3 dots, click on import from file. The first one's going to be called ultimate agent part2.json. Now remember, this is going to have all 3 parts stuck together, so we need to break them up. So the one that is going to be first is just going to be this one that is responsible for the Vapi webhook trigger that will get the information from the documents and then send the information back to Vapi. So basically, in order to clean this up, we're going to have to get rid of these ones because these are responsible for the, automatically uploading company files to Google Drive. And then this one's going to be responsible for automatically deleting deleted files from the Google Drive. So get rid of that. That's perfect. Save, and you just hit active here. Oh, and obviously you would have to go through and make sure that you update it using your credentials. So that's perfect. Well, actually, it looks like it didn't default correctly. So just make sure you follow the part 2 video for this, but basically you're just going to update your credential and then you're going to set it to 2.5 flash light. Now the reason for that is it's the strongest model and it's also using the light model, so it's extremely fast. So that's the one that we want. Supabase is just going to ask you for setting up your credential here. Embedding, that's correct. And then Supabase is going to ask for your table name, which is correct, okay? So now that is done, go ahead and set it to active if you're using that. Next, go ahead and create another workflow. So import from file. This one is going to be the ultimate agent update Google Drive section of it. And same thing here. All you're going to do is set up your credential, the embedding that looks correct, and then import to Supabase. This is your correct credential and your table name that is correct. Go ahead and save and active. Perfecto. Now, last thing is to import the last file. It's going to be called ultimate agent delete Supabase. And all you need to do is, if your credentials aren't already saved, just click on that and it'll automatically update that. So that is perfect. Sure. Yeah, just go ahead and do that and hit active, okay? Uh, Obviously, if you need to do, if you need a refresher, go ahead and visit part 2. That's going to teach you how to do things like setting up your company documents, setting up Superbase, things like that. All right, so the next step is toggle the n8n workflows to active and basically give it a test. So same thing with here, make sure that you hit save and set it to active, okay? So it looks like we're pretty much done. I'm going to go through basically from the bottom up, just make sure that everything's aligned so that we're ready to give it a test. So let's go back over to Vapi now. Let's start with the new assistant, right? So new assistant, 5 mini, that was correct. So remember, my time zone is America, Chicago. That's important because we also need to check it with things like um, our tools and also our n8n variables node. So, okay, temperature, that looks fine. Yeah, perfect. Tools, yes, I gave it all 6 tools. That is perfect. And the messaging section, it looks like I did put this in correctly, and so that looks good. Perfect. All right, now go to the tools. I have my 6 tools created, and they are all perfect. Remember, we don't need to add this because we're already doing it in the messaging section. Perfect. And the important thing to note here is we need to go through here and basically look at our visual editor and see that we are using the right time zone. So here, it doesn't look like it's using anything for the time zone, so that's fine. It doesn't look like this one used the time zone either. No, perfect. I believe this is the one that uses the time zone. So go ahead and hit visual editor. Actually, no, this one doesn't even use the time zone. Maybe it's check availability. Yeah, this is the one that uses the time zone. Basically, we're searching for the day that they're asking for to get the information. So you just need to update this to say whatever your time zone is. Like let's say you're in the UK, you just need to change this to your time zone. And then this one doesn't need anything, so that's perfect. Phone numbers, the only thing to check here is the fact that I have assigned it to my phone number. It is, so that's perfect. Now going back to our n8n workflow, just making sure that the variables node is using America, Chicago. That is perfecto. And that is it. So all that is left to do is to give it a call and we'll see what happens. So if you guys haven't already created the Google Sheet, it's going to look like this. This is going to log all the customers that call in. It's going to log the phone number. And then if you want, you could build your outbound agent and basically give them a cold call or like a follow-up, whatever. And finally, there's going to be another sheet called call evaluations. And after every call, it's going to automatically update it with something that looks like this. And then once you have like 2 or 3 or however many, if you like to do this weekly or bi-weekly, whatever, it's up to you. But just copy all of the entries and then put them into an AI like Google Gemini or ChatGPT and then basically ask, okay, which ones are the ones that failed the most? Which ones are the ones that succeeded the most? And that'll tell you which ones are working well and which ones are failing. And I'll tell you which one you need to focus on. So let's go ahead and give it a test. Go to Vapi and I'm going to call my number.
Thank you for calling the Glow Clinic. This is Chloe. How may I help you today?
Hey, Glue, do you have a boyfriend?
I'm here to assist you with any questions or appointments related to the Glow Clinic. How can I help you today?
Sure. Can you go ahead and give me a list of all the services that you guys offer?
One moment, please. The Glow Clinic offers a range of services, including injectables such as neurotoxins like Botox and Dysport, as well as dermal fillers like Juvederm Collection and Restylane. We also provide skin rejuvenation treatments, including medical-grade chemical peels, hydrofacial, and RF microneedling with
All right, that's perfect. Could you go ahead and help me schedule an appointment then for Botox, please?
I'd be happy to help you get started. To begin, what treatment are you interested in today?
Yeah, I want some neurotoxins like Botox or Dysport.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and have you had this type of treatment before?
No.
Perfect. Thank you for that information. The next step is to schedule a complimentary consultation with one of our specialists. Is that something you'd be open to?
Definitely.
Of course. Let's find a time that works for you. What day would work best for you to come in?
Yeah, could you see if you have any time on Thursday of this week?
Could you? Great. Let me check our schedule for Thursday of this week. One moment. I see availability on Friday, August 22. I have several times available. 8:30 a.m., 9 a.m., and 9:30 a.m. Would any of those times work for you?
Sure, let's go ahead and do 9 a.m. on that Friday.
May I please have your full name to book the consultation appointment?
Yeah, my name is Anthony Ton, Ton.
Okay, Anthony Ton, just to confirm, I have you down for a consultation for Botox on Friday, August 22 at 9 a.m. Is that all correct?
That is correct.
Excellent. Let me lock that in for you. Just a moment. Your appointment is now successfully booked. If you have any other questions or need further assistance, please feel free to call. Have a wonderful day.
All right, bye-bye. All right, so there you go. That is how you book that appointment using RAG. Now, the only thing that I would say is that it ended up booking the appointment before it actually locked it in. So that's one of the reasons why testing is really, really important. You got to test this hundreds of times, okay? So all you would do to fix that is basically go to Vapi, and then you just go into the system prompts, and you just say something like, make sure that you've double checked and you've absolutely confirmed that the caller has confirmed and that they want to lock in the appointment before you actually call the book appointment tool to book that appointment. So that's pretty simple to do. And actually, one more thing is during my testing, what I realized is that when you have multiple workflows for, in this case, RAG, and then you have a separate workflow for the AI appointment setter, what actually happened is a lot of times it'll mix up the tool calls. So what I found is easier is if you just put them all into one workflow. So basically what I did was I went over here and I added into the tool router the get user documents tool. And I just moved everything over, and basically it's the same exact thing, but it's all in one workflow now. So this makes it a little bit easier. Now you only have to manage a total of 3 instead of 4. Basically, we don't need this anymore. We still need these two because this one's responsible for updating the Supabase database, and then this one's responsible for deleting from the Supabase database. So that's still necessary, but this is what I have. And another thing with that is what I realized is that you got to basically go into the Vapi and you got to mess around with the model. What's really weird is that I've been testing with GPT-5, and although it seems a lot smarter than GPT 4.1 mini, it can also give you stuff that you don't want. So in a way, GPT 4.1 mini can be more consistent in my experience. So that's probably what I would use for this med spa agent. So there it is. You guys have just learned how to test, debug, and deploy a fully production-ready AI voice agent for your client. And again, this can go for lots of, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars every single month. So it's very important stuff. And by the way, I'm going to share with you my SOP that I have right here. So make sure to check that in the comments. And if you want to get the full version that has this information, you'll have to get it from my school community, which is over here. So remember, in order to get those documents, go ahead and go over to the YouTube tab and click onto the post I'm going to make and go ahead and download those files. And if you have any questions, go to the one-on-one support tab, ask me any question, and I'll make sure to get you that answer. All right, that basically concludes the ultimate agent, guys. It's pretty exciting stuff. Make sure you go through step 1 through 10 so you understand exactly how this works. Again, when I'm doing this for you, it gets you pretty much 95% of the way there. If you deploy this as is for your client, it'll probably be sufficient. It'll get the appointments done and it'll do exactly what you need it to do. But the last 5% is very important. You need to constantly test and make sure that you're constantly improving. So let's actually go to the Google sheet over here, and I'll show you that it automatically updated. So as you can see, as a result of the call, it automatically added my name and my phone number to the Google Sheet, which is the CRM that we chose to use for this example. And then in the call evaluations, you can see that it logged it as well, right? So appointment booked, and it correctly said that I'm getting Botox and all this good stuff, okay? And another thing is, for the call summary that we talked about, the esthetician, we can actually go to the Google thing over here. And then now that the call ended, it should have updated, right? So I'm pretty sure if I click out of here and click back in, it'll have updated with the summary. So there it is, automatically updated with the call summary, and it has all the information. So like I said, guys, this is working pretty much perfectly, 95% of the way there. Make sure that you test it over and over again and consistently improve. All right, guys, it was a pleasure making this for you. And in my next video, I'm going to do a quick video about client onboarding. So basically, what are you going to actually give to your client for them to be able to use this agent? It's going to be a really quick one, but it's also a really important one. All right, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.